Yeah, hey, game.
There we go.
Oh yeah, this
Saying,
this works great.
Make
Right?
it look. The chair goes down.
why aren't you in the basement?
What a show.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of 5 Idiots Talking Toys. I'm Shane and we're here with our Collectors Podcast. We release new episodes every week on a new topic, but we are in the middle of a special series where we review the original Kenner Star Wars vintage action figures. So we've gone through, I think this is the fourth video in the series. We've gone through 16 of them so far, and we are going to do another 4 in this episode. So if you're a collector, if you want to learn more about the vintage figures, if you're a fan of the Kenner toys, if you want to just look back and see what the original figures look like, if you're a more modern collector, it is a fun episode. We're going to review those in depth. We're going to tell you some things you might not have known about these figures. And this will hopefully be a good resource both for the novice collector as well as the more seasoned who might learn something about one of these action figures. Let's bring the 5 idiots in right now. Charles is here from his 3-season room or from his neighbor's porch. I'm not sure what that is. Charles, how are you?
Pretty much good. I got thrown out of my regular spot, so I'm in.
Right. Your wife is having a sleepover or something, and
Yep.
your daughters.
No,
Somebody's.
my daughter is, yeah.
Okay,
Huge
yes.
sleepover.
All right, very good. Your brother from the same mother, not another mother. That the saying goes. Chris is here.
Never matter.
Chris, your mom cooks a mean ziti. Is that correct?
That would be false.
Okay. Who cooks the ziti?
I was actually just going to say that too.
My mother-in-law.
Oh, your mother-in-law cooked it. Okay, gotcha.
Very good. Yeah, very good ziti.
All right. Brandon, the mechanic, is here in his garage.
Where's Charles at?
He's in his
Not in the garage,
neighbor's
I can tell you that.
his neighbor's closed-in porch, I believe.
I heard he's in the bathroom.
I'm actually inside my house, not sitting in my garage.
Well, yeah, but it's not 75 degrees where you are.
Flush?
Yeah.
That's true.
Are you guys supposed to be getting snow tomorrow?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
they're calling for like 10 to 12 inches here.
Yeah, same here.
Crazy.
Same
And it's
here.
supposed to be like really heavy, so you're going to have to shovel it or plow it a million times. All right, someone who could get snow, but if he does, the entire northern part of Georgia shuts down. George Walden, what's your name?
That would be John.
John is here.
Yes.
I was saying Georgia, then I almost said George Walden.
Georgia Walden.
He's like one of the founding fathers, George Walden.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So
Close.
we're all here. Close. We're all here. We're going to jump back into this series of reviewing these vintage figures. Guys, I've had fun doing this. We've already released the first video as of this recording, and we've been getting some good feedback so far, I heard.
Yep.
Correct.
Yep, very good.
Correct.
Yep.
Okay, good. All right. So let's jump right in because I'm sure there's some folks that'll check out this video that are not here for us to blather on, but rather to get into reviewing these figures. The first figure up is a droid from the first movie, of course, that was not a fan favorite necessarily from the movie itself. He was in the movie for all of a minute, and he practically exploded. But I think between the movie and then the toy line, he became a fan favorite. This is a favorite toy, a favorite figure, action figure of a lot of people who collect vintage toys and Star Wars, of course. So he's kind of been more popular through the toy line than the actual movie. R5-D4 almost purchased by Luke and Uncle Owen, and they ended up with a little guy named R2 instead. John, tell us a little bit about this figure, though.
This figure right here is my favorite droid figure. It's R5-D4, of course, like you said. They had a couple different versions of them. We'll get into one of the variants, but like the 78 version, I think this is one of the reasons why he's my favorite figure. My favorite droid figure is like the 77 version and the 78 version. The 77 version came out when they had R2D2 bodies, but they didn't have R5 bodies yet, and they slapped the red label on it, and they put on these heads that were like had a cone head. There's a little point at the top of it, and the eyes were a little bit smaller sometimes in some instances, and the little right above his shoulder, I can't point to it.
Yeah,
Can't
if I point with the arrow here, I don't
But
know if you
right
can see
above his
that.
shoulder,
Yeah, right.
that little section right there is flat, and it says 1977 on the bottom because it's an R2D2 body.
Okay, nice.
And then the demand for them was higher before they were actually manufactured in 1978, and then the 78 bodies were from there on out. So it's a pretty cool figure, and R5 also had his own little storyline. Did you know that? And I don't know if it was fan fiction or if it was maybe it was a comic book. Zippy the Wonder Droid, or yeah, I think it was Skippy the Wonder Droid,
Skippy!
where he became a Jedi.
Skippy Doo.
Skippy the Wonder Droid. Anyway, that's R5D4, and he doesn't have any accessories, but Charles wants to talk about his sticker.
Charles, you've been waiting all day to talk about this sticker.
I've been waiting all
Oh, he's
day.
been.
Right.
Did you see the chats?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I mean, he was nonstop.
if you can rotate the figure so I can show where the red square would be filled in red. But there is a version of him where the small square
Oh, I got no other photos
on
here.
the top
What
left.
are we doing here? Is
It's on,
there?
the top, it's on the top left. If it's filled in red, it's a red bar. It's a variant, harder to find. Since he has no accessories, I would just go with, if you're looking at it and his body is yellow and his head is yellow and he has a completely white sticker, it's fake. If he has a yellow head and a white body and the sticker is all yellow, like, use like your brain. A lot of these stickers are fake, and if you're handling these things, I would wear a pair of gloves or something. You're gonna get your the oil from your fingers on the sticker. And I think we're moving on to Brandon.
This is my R5. It is obviously a budget R5 red bar, but I grabbed him to illustrate what you're talking about, Charles. That square
Yeah, so
closest to his leg, right?
yep.
Can you point to it?
So that makes him worth a lot of money.
I can
Correct.
point to it with a razor sharp knife that will ruin my figure.
I mean, you probably
Right
could have just
there.
used your finger,
I
but
was just gonna say the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you don't want to touch that body, Shane, and get it more
No.
yellow.
No.
so
So
that's
this
what
is
I'm
my
saying.
budget one with the torn sticker, but
if you're gonna hold that figure, that's how you hold it. If you don't have any
Right.
gloves, hold
right,
it by
and
his
if-
leg.
right, or you hold it by the
Yep.
shoulders, right?
Put your pinky in the bottom.
You always have your pinky up. I don't know how. Can't do that. Yeah, but that, there's a story behind that little red bar, right? We think it was some sort of a printing error because it's basically the exact same sticker as the R2D2. Just obviously the blue is changed to red. I think there was maybe one other small difference, but they left that bar colored in solid on some small run of those stickers, or one sticker on a sheet of, say, 24 of them or something. And because that bar is normally colored in on the R2D2 sticker, but they chose to not do it on this figure, but they left one behind. So it is a rarer figure. It is a harder to find figure. There's a much lower numbers. And my comment is, I love that little point on the top of the 77 head.
Yeah.
Charles taught me about that. I learned that from Charles, and I ever since he told me, I love that now, and I always look for them, and I have one or two myself, and I enjoy that. So let's go over to Brandon now and tell us some more about the condition of this figure.
Can you put the figure? Can you put the figure back up?
I will. Yes, we're going to go to what view? This view.
Whoa.
This view,
Whoa.
this view,
Whoa.
this view.
All right, so top to bottom, obviously this figure is in very nice condition, I would say. The top, you see the 3 red dots on there. Usually you're looking for paint loss there. You can't see the top of the head, the top of the dome there, but there are some panels that are painted red on the top of his head, so those are usually okay, but you might want to look for some paint loss there.
Silver.
It has the silver on the side of the head, which you can't see in this picture either, but
Yeah, Shane.
silver, maybe a John or Sean, sorry, Shane, if he can show the silver parts on the side of the head there. His probably doesn't have any. Yeah,
No.
those should be painted silver.
Oh, on the sides of the head, yeah. I can grab
Yeah.
I can grab a different one.
Continuing on the head, you can always twist the head to make sure it clicks. So if the head makes a clicking sound, that means it's still good. Yeah, I mean, you can see Shane's there for comparison. Little gray, silver areas that are painted on the sides there. The chrome is another thing to look for. Those typically get rubbed, and if you start to see them turn into like a skin color or something other than chrome, that means it's been rubbed pretty well. The legs tend to turn pink, or maybe you might start to get some plastic cancer, and they tend to get really dirty really fast. So just double check those. Same with the body, yellowing body, and then the number one issue is usually the sticker. Like Charles is alluding to, everybody played with this figure when they were a kid, so they would grab it with their dirty fingers, and the oils from the fingers would just rub onto the white sticker there. So obviously, looking at that to determine if there's any rips or if there's any tears. Usually where the bottom of the legs there rub against the sticker, that's another area that's prone to getting some kind of wear on it. So you want to double check that, and then flipping underneath inside the figure, you might want to double check that the screw is nice and not rusty, because nobody likes a rusty screw.
Rusty's in the Navy.
Rusty nut.
A rusty nut. But yeah, the biggest issue with this figure overall is usually the sticker. The sticker's always rubbed and destroyed on it. But this one here is a very nice example.
All right.
And Chris will talk about pricing and whether we should grade this or not.
Pricing, he's like some other figures where he can range from like $15 for a beater or something that's not in good condition, and you could charge even $55, $60 for a nice, like really, really white one if you actually do find one. He's definitely a figure that is worth grading. If you think he's like an 85 or higher, I would definitely grade him. It brings the value up for him. I would get the upgraded acrylic case for him since he's a white figure, which is what you would always want to do for a white figure. Just, God forbid, the sticker does yellow or degrade or anything. And, like I said, he's just one of those figures that are just all over the place in value. It really just depends on the condition. Always want to make sure that the head clicks and stuff like that, and that just all takes money away from it. So.
All right. Yeah, I think we covered this pretty well. There's definitely some things to look out for: discolored plastic, the sticker, obviously the clicking of the head, the paint application on the sides of the legs, obviously the paint on the head, also the silver that's under the head, that silver collar that keeps the figure together. That can actually lose some chrome too. I've seen those where they're faded and you see a little beige underneath or some paint wear. Similar to a paint rub, so you want to look for some good shiny chrome as well there, and of course the silver on the head. I think we covered it pretty well. Very good, guys. Let's jump over now to the next figure. And the funny thing about that pointed head, by the way, is Charles loves that, and that's a mold variation. And then that leads us over to our next figure, which they swear is not a mold variation.
Oh, God.
The short V Gonk is what I'm talking about. But we're going to talk about Gonk in general. Let's see if I can get him.
Gacka.
Can't get him centered here, but so be it. This is the Power Droid. It's first seen in the Sandcrawler, I believe, the Jawa Sandcrawler in the first movie, and then I don't know if we see him in Empire at all, guys, but we do see him in Jabba's palace as well, down in the droid dungeon, so to speak. He is a power droid, just like it says. So apparently he's got just a utility to him. He makes funny gonk noises. That's where that nickname came from. John, I'm going to throw it over to you. Tell us a little bit about this guy.
You just did. Let's throw it over to Charles.
John has nothing to add to this figure whatsoever.
I was going to actually say the same exact thing. What is John supposed to say? You said everything.
Said everything about him.
Well, I talked about the character, John. You're supposed to talk about the figure, the action figure toy.
Figure. This is the figure that
I didn't talk about the toy at all.
From Star Wars, he's known as Gonk because he makes gonky noises when he's a robot. When he's in the
John, pretend you're reviewing the toy and talk about the toy.
Yep, he has two kicky legs, and they clickety clack 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 clickety clack. He has one solitary antenna up above his head there, and yeah.
All right, on to you, Charles. Tell us about his accessories. Tell us about the things that jump out to you with this figure when you have it in your hands, and what to look out for.
I don't know how I can follow you two, because it's just going to be hard to match what you guys did.
Good Lord.
Well, he has no accessory, so if you look at the side of the figure in the middle, there's a long gonk, or what Shane likes to call a short V gonk. So the V in the center on the side is either short or long. No one cares other than Shane on this podcast and about maybe 13 other people in the world.
John agrees with me.
So, I agree with him that it is a mold variation.
It is a mold variation. No one cares, though. It was worth so much money, the short V gonk, and now they're selling for the exact same amount, short or long. And like I said, he has no accessories, so we can skip right past me.
All right, let's go to Brandon for condition.
Condition, real quick. The antenna on the top. A lot of times, those are a really nice thing for dogs or children to chew on. So you want to double check that. A lot of times they're missing. They do come out. They're just a little rubber piece on there. So just double check that that's on there and that it's in good shape. The sticker on the front typically has some wear on it. So you might see some rips or some tears on the sticker. The paint on the sides, that orange and the black are painted applications on there. So you want to double check that those are nice. Especially that black line tends to fade pretty easy. The white below the black line is a sticker as well. A lot of times that is missing or not applied correctly, so you want to double check that. The lower torso is pretty fine on most of these. The biggest issue with this figure, and everybody can agree on this, is the feet. And the feet are painted silver, and they always rub because they're the feet. So, obviously, played with a lot, displayed with a lot. Anything near the feet will cause this figure just to lose value immediately. So everybody's always looking at the feet, making sure the legs click, making sure that the silver paint is applied nicely on there. Overall, not a tough figure to find in good shape. You usually find these in pretty decent shape, but the feet are where it's at right there. So double check that all the stickers are good on there, and you should be good.
You make a good point. This is a very playable figure. This was a figure that was fun. It's an unusual shape. It's very different looking than the other figures. The legs click. So that was a fun figure to play with, and there's a lot of spots there that, can be affected by some play.
Yeah, behind the legs there, too, there's these little silver, wires, I think, that they painted on there, and those rub a lot, too.
Right. All right, let's go over to Chris now for priceability and grading.
So price-wise, you're looking at a really nice one could probably be $25. I mean, if someone charged $30 and it was really, really nice, like mint, I'd pay it all day long. But for the most part, when you see them listed, I don't know, they're $20. And, I wouldn't really say he's a hard figure to get, like Brandon said. Definitely the feet part is hard to get. He's not really a figure that I would probably send in for grading, unless you collect loose graded and you wanted a full collection. He's not really worth like sending in to grade and then resell afterwards, because he doesn't really go for that much more. So, especially now that grading costs are like $80 a figure, he's just not worth it unless it's for your personal collection.
Yeah. And like Brandon said as well, you look at this figure, you take it out of the package and you look at it the first time and it's already got a rub on the feet. The feet rub very easily. So to find a dead mint one with perfect feet, I don't even know if most of them have perfect feet from the factory, guys. So it's tough, but not an expensive figure to find a really nice version of. All right, great. So let's jump over to our next figure, and that is going to be the Death Star Droid. And we'll bring him in here now. Let's see if I can get this one silhouetted here. But this is I don't know. I forget exactly what scene we see this first in A New Hope, but it's a cool looking droid that's in a scene, kind of in the background. Makes a quick appearance on the Death Star. Full chrome, very futuristic. So I'm
see him in the Sandcrawler first.
You do, okay. So interesting there, because he's as chrome and shiny as he is. The Sandcrawler just looks filthy inside with all dirty droid parts and stuff. But a very cool looking character in the movie, because he looks very futuristic, and I'm sure in 1977 that was a pretty cool piece of eye candy on the screen. John, tell us a little bit about the actual figure itself.
Well,
so
let's
this
skip right over
is the,
John and head to Charles, since you just talked all about it.
The Death Star Droid is probably one of those figures that is, I don't know if there are many army builders of this guy, but he is definitely a fan favorite. I think, especially if you find one that's in good condition, whose limbs are tight. This guy tends to get loosey goosey, and with the helicopter arms. I don't know if you saw somebody's video. What was it, last year? Somebody's video. He was doing like helicopter arms because they got so loose. But really cool figure if you've got him in mint condition, for sure. And it's really pretty screen accurate from what I recall. But yeah, we do see him in the Jawa Sandcrawler, and then also like walking around on the Death Star. So yeah, again,
that's a good point. It is pretty accurate. You're right.
Yeah, and I think most of the droids were based on. Oh gosh, what was that film? I can't remember the name of the film now.
Lord of the Rings.
Came out in the 20s.
Alien.
No, it came out in the 20s.
The 1920s.
Yeah, the 1920s. I'll have to circle back on that, but as soon as I find something out. But
I'm gonna pass it over to Charles in 1 second. I'm just gonna give a quick front and back, and obviously we're only seeing one side on the screenshot there, but paint on the back of the shoulders there, and we're gonna all talk about that. But that's the front and the back of the figure with the rivet there on the back. Charles, over to you for the things that jump out at you. I know this figure doesn't have an accessory like you usually cover, but tell us something that you think of when you see this.
Yeah, so he has no accessory. I'm not going to get into the paint. I'm going to leave that for Brandon, but all I'm going to say is if you do see one and his arms are like locked or his legs are locked, sometimes they're actually locked, from like fusing, from over time. But sometimes some people like to throw like glue, like right in the limbs. So I would look around the leg area and around the arm area and just look for, glue spots or something like that. Because I know a lot of people glue their limbs and they sell him for like, $75, and they're like, he's mint, he's uncracked. So I would just look out for those shady people.
Okay, yeah, that's a really good point. All right, Brandon, let's hear from you for the condition on this figure and what folks who are maybe, just getting into collecting, just getting into vintage Star Wars, what would they be looking for?
So usually with the locking limbs that Charles was talking about. Usually, if the figure is very nice and mint, kind of like the one that on screen here, it will probably have pretty tight limbs. Usually, if they have a little more wear to them, people will try to pass it off, saying that they have, locked limbs or frozen limbs or whatever, and try to get more money for them. So that's true. Top to bottom, obviously, this figure, just looking at it, it's got that mirror finish to it, so a lot of areas for concern on it, kind of similar to C-3PO. A lot of things that can go wrong. The paint applications on this figure are always usually messed up. The eyes are never centered and they're never fully painted. The face, the mouth and nose area are usually missing some paint as well. The shoulders are the front and the back of the shoulders there are also supposed to be painted black. So those are the paint apps on this figure that are extremely hard to find in nice condition. And then the silver on the figure is almost always worn somewhere. Obviously, check the prone areas like the elbows, the back of the legs, the front of the feet, the back of the heels there, the hands, and the top of the head. Those are all areas that usually rub. The chest there rubs as well, near like the torso area there. So double check this figure up and down. It's very hard to find one in very nice condition with no blemishes to the chrome, because these figures, again, were played with heavily. A very favorite figure for a lot of kids to play with, and it's a collector's. This is one of the top figures that the collectors try to look for to find one that's pristine. So obviously look this one over if you're going to be buying one.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point.
Make sure that the shoulders aren't painted with Sharpie, right, Shane?
Yes. Yeah. So there's only a couple of spots of paint there. So, watch for touch-ups. There's some people will tell you a good trick is to use a black light on some of these figures to see if you see any paint touch-up that, glows a different way than the original paint. Or if it's a Sharpie, black Sharpie, it will definitely show up in a black light from what I've heard. So keep an eye out for that. Look for anything that looks like it's been touched up or changed or anything from the original factory condition, if anything looks different than the other shoulder or something like that. And then for anybody who doesn't know, underneath this chrome, the figure is typically made from plastic that's like a milky white or like a beige cream color. So when you're looking for those rubs, you'll see them because you'll see that underlying very different plastic color under there. Going to go over to you now, Chris, for pricing of the figure. What would be a fair pricing here in 2024 for anybody watching this video, and then the how you feel about grading this figure?
He's the same as a C-3PO. You can see them on the pages for $10. You can see them on the page for 40 or 50. You can even see him for 60, 70. It just depends on how nice he is. If let's just say, if I sell 50 of these throughout a year on the page, maybe one might be good enough to send in for grading. He is one of the toughest figures, in my opinion, to send in to get an 85 and higher. Definitely like top 3. He's just very, very tough. So if someone was to slap a $60 price tag on it and you saw it and it looked absolutely mint, I would buy that all day long. You can certainly get it graded. It brings the value up a lot also, but he's just one of those figures that you want to protect also. So, you definitely can grade, and that's really it. He mainly comes in a Hong Kong. That's what you're going to see most of them.
Okay. Yeah, and you've
Metropolis,
said this before.
Metropolis, it was the movie that I was thinking of that the droids were based on.
This is this figure is a stripper favorite.
How so? Oh, you mean action figure strippers? Holy shnikes!
Relax that tiger.
Yeah, Shane, get your mind out of the gutter.
Jeez. All right. Yeah. This is you've said this before, Chris, in a previous episode of this series where we're going through the entire vintage Star Wars action figure line. From beginning to end, you've already said, there's some figures that are that hard to seek out a really mint version that if you come across one and you know what you're looking for and you feel confident that it's the one you've been looking for, pay a little bit of a premium for it because it's going to take you so much effort and time to find that on your own. So if you come across it at a toy show or in a listing or something like that, don't be afraid to pay an extra, $10 for something that's really, really nice, because it's just hard to find.
And I'm being serious. Like, if I had 100 of these throughout a year selling, if I found one of them that would send in for grading, that would maybe get an 85, I'd be lucky to find one.
Yeah.
I would definitely overpay for a very nice one.
Yeah.
When you're not 100% sure, also, you can send a message to John Rula, the action figure grader. He'll actually look at what you send, and he'll let you know if it's worth sending in for grading or not. So that is John Rollo, but
Rolo.
And
on Facebook it's
Rollo.
Rollo.
He will
His real
actually
name-
send it in for you.
Yes. And pay
His real
for
name
it.
is Rollo, but his Facebook name is John Rula. But he's the action figure grader. Send him a message. He will definitely help you.
Right, correct. All right, well, I just want to give a shout-out real quick before we move on to our final figure of this episode for the website galacticcollector.com. We've found some nice photos that they host on their site. We don't have any affiliation with them, but check out their site, galacticcollector.com. They have some pricing trends that they track. I believe they also have a checklist where you can track your own figure collection there. So looks like there's some cool stuff. So we'll give them a shout out. Thanks for putting out a nice website with some nice photos that folks can use. And also, while I'm at it, you see the address there on the bottom of the screen. Also, in our description of this video, there's a link. If you like what we're doing, if you found this video helpful, of course, please like the video. But give us a sub to the YouTube channel. That will help us grow this channel. It will help us out a lot. So we'd appreciate it. We're going to continue to putting out some fun content and some helpful content for collectors. You can also support the show and everything that we're doing at patreon.com/5idiotstalkingtoys. You'll get early access to all of our videos, special content we only put there, as well as previews of collectibles that will go for sale on our sales page, Rogue 5 Toys. All right, collectibles. Let's get into the final figure, and that is Luke X-Wing. Don't need to really say much about this. It's Luke Skywalker, midway through the first movie, of course, Star Wars. He dons the orange suit, and we get into the X-Wing. Maybe it's a little bit more than midway, but he goes from farm boy Luke to a pilot, and this is a pretty iconic look for the franchise, of course. I always was a little disturbed because this looks absolutely nothing like Luke Skywalker. He does not have jet black hair or a face that looks like that, but it's a fun figure with a lot of playability.
Shane.
John, tell us about the actual figure itself.
Wait, no.
Shane,
I'm going to tell him about the figure. No. I'm going to tell him about the figure.
are you going to tell him what he said wrong?
Yes, that is not a butt cut, black-haired butt cut.
Oh, yes, I know this. Yes. I only learned that like a year and a half ago, but I forgot already.
Yeah.
It's such a bad implementation because 99% of people naturally think that's his hair, right? Have to. So, and his visor in the movie's not black, so it's all a problem. Yeah. John, tell us about the actual figure, though. You remember this as a kid. The playability of this and the things that jump out to you.
Yeah, this is one of the cooler ones that came out when I was a kid because you get this figure, now you have to get an X-wing. Right? Ah,
yes.
Or if you get the X-wing, now you have to get this figure.
Your parents were really screwed.
Cool. Yeah, parents were screwed either way. So, this is a really cool figure. It's got the Rebel emblems on the helmet and the chest piece that I guess it was like the oxygen and stuff like that for the.
I believe
pilot,
there's a button right on the top there that he presses, and his parents come and pick him up.
His parents come and pick him up. Yeah.
Let me ask you one question, John. Do you have any recollection, or did you ever have any thought about getting multiple of these and just playing pretend that you've got a squadron of X-wing pilots? Because it doesn't really look like Luke, right? Like it's kind of generic.
Right, it is generic. But when I was a kid, I don't think we really thought about it that way. We just thought about it as Luke Skywalker as a pilot.
Yeah, I think I did the same.
But it's really cool. It was pretty rad to have a different costume for Luke Skywalker. I think this is his first alternate costume of a character. The first alternate costume of a character was the X-wing pilot.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So pretty cool costume. And it does come with a blaster. Didn't really use it much in the X-wing. but
Right. Well, in case he did a drive-by or something, I guess.
yeah, in case I had to do a drive-by. But
All right,
is gonna
Charles,
tell
we're
us
going to
more
go
about the
over to you now for that blaster. You've been chomping at the bit to finally get a figure in this episode that has an accessory, and here you go.
Shane, I am just so excited.
Look at that face. You can't contain his excitement.
So he comes with a Rebel Blaster. It's blue-black. So Rebel Blasters come in blue and blue-black. So he will be with a blue-black. It came from, I believe, like 3 different factories: Smile, Cater, and Unitoy. But I am not 50 years old, and I don't live in my mom's basement, so I can't tell you the difference of the exact mold or version that he gets. But he gets a blue-black Rebel Blaster. And to jump off the blaster for just 1 second, he's notorious for like Sharpie on his feet and Sharpie on his whatever that thing is, oxygen mask thing, chest, whatever that is. But
His vest.
whatever it is.
Oxygen mask,
It has like the hoses and stuff. I don't know. That's what
I think
it looks
I think it's GPS or something.
His G suit.
It's notorious for some people using Sharpie on his feet and on the chest and stuff like that. So I would just look it over and just make sure it's not Sharpied or like painted or anything like that.
Yeah, I think that's the first version of the Fitbit. I believe it counts as steps for the day, something like that. All right, Brandon, we're going to go over to you now.
Mom, pick me up.
Pick me up, Mom. All right, Brandon, tell us about the Sharpie that Charles talked. No, tell us all about it. Tell us about the whole entire figure.
Love-hate relationship with this figure. I love the figure, but I hate it at the same time because it's so hard to find a nice one. Top to bottom on this one, the paint on the helmet, the red stripe, check for that. Make sure it's fully painted red. The emblems on there. This one actually has really nice emblems. This is a very nice example. But the Rebel emblems there on his helmet are usually rubbed, so check for that as well. The helmet itself, always dirty, always off-white, so check that it's nice and white and there's no dirt on there. The face, a little bit of rubbing usually on the nose because that part sticks out, but the hair, as Shane called it, the black hair on there, or his visor, is usually pretty good. This figure's notorious for having degradation to the limbs. The orange, this one's really nice and orange, but you'll start to see the orange start to turn a little bit of brown in there. Usually it'll be like 1 or 2 of the limbs will start doing that before the whole figure does it. The black and the white and everything that's painted on this figure are all trouble spots. The white vest on the back of the figure, this is not a good picture, but the back of the figure almost always has rubs on the white part of the vest, so double check that. Check all the black areas that are on there on his chest piece there, on the G suit that he has on there, or the oxygen mask, whatever Charles said. The buttons, the white buttons there are almost always rubbed as well because that protrudes out from the figure, so double check that. The hands almost always have rubs on them. The white straps, again, almost always rubs. That black piece that goes around his crotch onto his butt, usually everybody would sit him inside the X-Wing, so that's always rubbed. I don't know if you have a picture of his backside, but
keep the blaster out of his hand.
Like that, see, that has rubs on it. The vest.
Don't do what Shane does.
Yeah,
the one that Shane does is actually pretty nice. Shane's example.
I got to rub on the hand though. There,
the hand, yeah, but the back and the front are the worst as far as paint rubs, and then the boots obviously always tend to have a couple rubs on them as well. But
right.
Very, very, very hard figure to find fully painted because there's a lot of paint applications on this figure. And,
there are. It is really hard.
Chris will talk about the price point on them.
When it comes to the price, I said before the Death Star Droid is top 3. Luke X-Wing is top 3 with the Death Star Droid. Finding a mint one, he is ridiculously difficult to find. Normally, they sell for about $25 because the blaster is $20. Usually he's about $5. I mean, if you have a nicer one, you could charge $28. And if we're really talking about like an actual really, really mint nice one, I would say about a year or 2 ago, I bought some overstock ones that were like uncirculated, that were found in an abandoned factory. And I think I got about 5 of them. and I sold them just a figure for like $30 a piece. And I believe every one of them graded an 85, but only an 85. That just goes to show you how tough they are to get. Definitely grade one if you think it's grade worthy. But like Brandon said, there are so many troublesome spots. People find one and they think like the vest and the paint is good, but the limbs are degraded and it automatically gets 75. The helmet, like Shane's helmet that he just had, the vest was white, but the helmet was yellow. So there's just so many problems on this figure. And again, if you found one and someone was charging $60, pay $60. If it was really that nice, because he is really difficult to find.
Go ahead.
I actually bought one off you. You sold. I think you got one for me and Rolo.
I got one for you and John, and you got it graded, right?
Yep.
It graded 85?
I got an 85, yeah.
Okay.
I bought one from you too, and I didn't grade it.
Oh yeah, you got the other one. That's right. I forgot.
It's currently degrading.
I mean, these things were like so nice, and even when I sent them to you guys, I told you guys, I was like, these things are like awesome, and I think I charged you $30 a piece because they were just so beautiful. But they only graded an 85. They didn't even get any higher than that, and these things were unplayed with, sitting in a box for 40 years, just in a out of sunlight and everything, and it still didn't grade high. So
that's crazy.
That figure is the epitome of a figure in this line that barely ever came out of the factories in mint condition. You know, just because there's so many spray apps there, spray paint apps, with the stripes, the stripes in the legs, the stripes because of that, apparatus on his chest. There's like 4 straps to that. And the line, on his butt is always rubbed. Just the poor spray application. And then some of those limbs, Brandon was saying some brown. I also see some limbs where they're almost like turning peach, like they get lighter.
What do you call it? The sherbet.
Yeah, the sherbet, exactly. The orange sherbet limbs.
Orange.
I have a couple of those. I actually like those. Those are actually really nice.
Yeah, they almost like they're faded, except it's weird because the orange is the molded plastic. So the actual plastic itself is fading. It's color, which is weird. It's just degradation.
I mean, to be honest with you, if you pull that picture back up from Galactic, whatever it is, if you look at both of his legs, they're actually different colors. His right one is darker than the left one, and you guys probably don't see it, but I can see it right away. I can spot it. If you would see a front view, that's what we're talking about, because they're just two different colors, right?
So I find the raised China bar ones are usually prone to either you'll find a really nice one or you'll find a degraded one.
Yeah.
And isn't it weird how like the different factory plastic mixes and stuff like that?
Here's my sherbet
have different types of degradation.
That's my one with the degraded limbs. That's faded the opposite way. It lightened instead of darkened. That was a good point, Shane. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
He's actually in really nice shape too.
What it makes you think is it makes you think it's a figure that sat out in the sun or something, because it's almost it looks sun faded in real life, but it's just the breakdown of the color, I think.
And this one was really nice shape. It's just faded limbs. It's pretty cool looking though.
Yeah. All right, guys. I think that's going to do it for our review of these 4 figures: the Gonk droid, Power Droid, the Death Star droid, R5D4. And, of course, Luke X-Wing pilot that we just covered. If you like the content that we're putting out, please subscribe to this YouTube channel and check out our Patreon, patreon.com/5idiotstalkingtoys. You can find all of our links in the description below. You might be listening on your favorite podcast apps, but come on over to the YouTube channel, check out the visual of these figures, and you can hopefully use that as a guide and a reference for your collecting of this Kenner line. Thanks very much for watching and hanging out with us here on 5 Idiots Talking Toys. We have a lot of less serious episodes and some fun topics. We review some movie trailers, some series that are coming up. We also cover some other toy lines. Lego. What else? What else do we cover, John?
Power Rangers.
Superpowers. That's what it is. Only John collects superpowers, so I forget. Alien, also, come on, all sorts of stuff. We talk about G.I. Joe and He-Man and Thundercats and sometimes. All right, thanks for hanging out with us. We will see you on another episode here on our channel, 5 Idiots Talking Toys. Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks for coming on, John. John, appreciate coming on. Thank you.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thank you, John.
Thanks for talking, John, and participating.